Hi everybody. Today I want to go over 5 easy tips to help you avoid 3 putts and just improve your putting overall. So tip number 1 is to just every putt assess it for its risk overall. And this is really important. So we're going to look at this water bottle right here. So like this is a quick course, quick greens, downhill putt. Very first thing I want you to think about is assessing risk. And this is not a green light, just get after the putt and wild. Like this is, you want to be careful. You're going to try and dial this into the hole. So that's really the first tip is on every putt, just make sure that regardless of length, that you're assessing the risk of the putt. I barely touched that, and these greens aren't even that fast. We've got 4 or 5 feet left. Tip number 2 is I want you just to have a distance in your mind that is your go zone for I want to make putts, and then from outside of that point, you want to be able to just kind of have your brain switch gears and just start to get in this mentality of that you want to lag. You're trying to avoid the 3-putt. So for me, about 20 feet is to me a really good distance where, you know, this is a type of putt, as long as it's not, again, that risky one, where I'm going to go ahead and focus more on trying to make sure I'm getting the ball to the hole. And I'm going to be a little aggressive. I'm going to try and make putts about 20 feet and in most of the time, as long as it's not risky. Outside 20 feet, I'm going to shift my mentality to where if it goes in, great. But I have a different set of criteria that I go about when I'm hitting putts that are outside of that range, which is more of like a lag putting, which I'll get into in just a second. So here we have about a little over 30-foot long putt. And tip number 3, this one's really important, is don't obsess over line on longer putts that you're really just trying to lag when you're trying to avoid 3 putts. So like this putt right here is relatively flat. But I see people do this all the time where they're getting down and they're reading these putts like they're reading like a 6-footer, and they're really obsessing over the break. When in reality, what we want to do is the most important thing on this putt is speed. We want to get the ball inside a 3-foot ring around the hole. And I like to think of it almost as the same thing of like hitting the ball pin high, how important it is. On longer putts to avoid 3 putts, speed is king. Like don't obsess over the read. Take some more time and maybe walk the putt. You know, get a feel for, is it up or downhill, things like that. But you want to hit a good lag putt here. If this thing goes in, great. Like I think it's going to go a little bit to the left. If it goes straight or a teeny right, I'm still inside a 3-foot circle because this putt's not going to break a lot probably in the first place. And we'll see. I haven't really read this one or hit this putt, so. That's about 1.5 feet. And the putt was pretty straight, but I literally didn't even go back and read this putt. You can just kind of tell. Speed is the most important thing. So that's tip 3. When you have a long putt, don't obsess over the line. Just get the speed right. Tip number 4 is, are you thinking about where you want to miss your putt? And yeah, I just said that. That's a real thing. Just like when you're hitting off the tee and you know there's like out of bounds left or trouble, you're going to want to avoid it. And a good way to help avoid 3 putts is to look at the putt you have. So this putt's like 30-some feet. I put the water bottle there because hopefully it shows that it's on the pin is on a steep right to left breaking hill. So like I am also now thinking about, well, where do I want to miss this putt? And there's a couple options. You know, if I hang a putt high out to the right, see if I can do that here real quick. Is that going to go in? Well, that's hilarious. Okay, but if I hang one out, let's say overplay the break, hanging out high right. There's a better example of it. Look at the disaster of a putt that you have potentially. Like what I'm getting at is, do you want a downhill putt? Do you want a side hill putt? Or do you want to miss it to where you're going to leave yourself an uphill putt? Because this putt speed right here, that first putt I hit that was amazing. I think trickled there, almost went in, and it's still 3 feet, but it's 3 feet low. That's a much easier putt to make than if I leave one hanging out over to the right of the flag where it's downhill and it's going to break a bunch. So yes, you definitely want to think about, especially on longer putts, where do you want to miss? Give yourself an uphill putt that's hopefully as flat as possible. Thanks for sticking with me so far. It would really do me a big favor if you could hit the like and subscribe button. All right, so the 5th and final tip, this is probably the most important, is how you're practicing. I mean, I see a lot of people just drop balls on the putting green and start hitting and walking to random pins. You should practice 2 things mainly. around 3 feet, this should be a huge portion of what you're actually practicing putting. Let's just be honest. Is it not these putts a lot of times that we're missing that's causing us to 3-putt? Like, we want to really drill these in. We want to get really good at them. And then what you can also do, which is fun, is practice lag putting. So I'm talking at least 30-foot putts and really, really work on speed and how you're going to be able to get that. When you can lag putt well and you can make your 3 to 4 footers pretty consistently, you're not going to 3-putt as much. The thing that's wild to me is most of the time I see people, because I practice putting a lot, and I see people that drop and they hit from like 10 feet, like out here, all the time as like the majority of thing. And how often do they really have those putts is my first thing. And that's not what they're leaving themselves, I hope, as a regular second putt. So like, they're practicing these putts a lot that aren't really going to help them get better at scoring. They're just not. If you can put a 3-footer online, well, you can make a 10-footer too. It's just starting the ball online. And if you're good at lag putting from 30 feet, you should be able to control your pace very well. You shouldn't need to practice 10-foot putts for pace a whole lot. Like, hit them sometimes, but most of your practice should be these 3 to 4 footers, and then a lot of lag putting so you can have good feel, and that takes care of most of it, and I bet you're going to 3-putt less.